Hey everyone, it's me, Steve. This is going to be the first geologic episode about our trip to Glacier National Park a couple weeks ago. This is going to be about the Grinnell Glacial Trail, this one. So that would be July 24th, 2018. We hiked that trail, and unfortunately I did not bring my Brunton with me or anything, so I didn't make measurements, but that trail kicked our butts. I mean, it's 6.5 miles one way, and according to the topo maps and other information, elevation difference is about 1,600 to 1,700 feet, somewhere in there. So it's a tough hike. But anyway, this is just the introduction. I'm going to go over some basic stuff here. You can fast forward through this if you want. I promise there's some beautiful scenery coming up. Just bear with me for a couple minutes here. But first, I need to explain something. When I went to Glacier National Park, I had almost zero foreknowledge of the geology. I knew that what had happened is that there was a big thrust fault in the area. I knew that. I knew the Precambrian had been thrusted over younger deposits. I knew that. But other than that, I didn't know much. Okay, and the Grinnell, I actually found a lot of stuff that agreed well with the literature. Now, the Grinnell, I had nothing. I didn't have the geologic map. I didn't have any references. I had nothing. I'm just going along the trail trying to figure things out. And I was pretty close. You'll see in the next video, I actually get the geology book, the roadside geology book of Montana, but I'll get into that next video. But other things I need to go over here first is I got to explain what is a thrust fault. Well, basically, you're going to see a diagram here in a second, but basically a thrust fault is a low angle reverse fault. Reverse faults are formed by compression. When beds get compressed, one will fault over the other. A thrust fault is just a low angle. It's some people say it's like 20 degrees or less. Some people, it depends on who you ask. But it's one of those things we kind of just know what it is when we see it. And the major thrust fault in the area is called the Lewis overthrust. But here's how a thrust forms. Okay, what you're seeing here is a hypothetical cross section. This isn't an example of anything in particular. It's not to scale. It's just to demonstrate and illustrate a concept. Okay, so in this cross section here, you see you have a reference point. That's just going to be a stationary point on the surface that's going to move as this thing develops, okay? Here, I've tried to get this as simple as possible. Here you have this dash line. That's going to represent a marker bed or reference bed. The stuff above that is younger deposits. The stuff below that is older. You're going to see a lot of these lines here. This is the beginning of a fault. Any black solid line you see is going to be a fault here in this short animation, other than the one that represents the surface. So over time, you get your compression, and this is what occurs. Now, over time, what you see here is you see a couple of things. Note where your new position is, first of all, okay? Something else you see, like here, you'll see younger strata under older strata, or older strata above younger strata. All right, you see that here in a couple of other places. Now, your reference point has also moved. Look at the difference between where it was and where it is now. And this thrusting, this thrust faulting is what causes this kind of thing. And in the area of Glacier National Park, we basically have Proterozoic, Mesoproterozoic deposits, mostly sedimentary, some volcanics, minor volcanics, thrusted over Mesozoic age deposits. And Mesozoic and some of the Mesoproterozoics covered in Quaternary deposits because there were alpine glaciers in the area. But here's a general cross section from the geologic map, published geologic map of the park. The area we're going to be working in today this is the closest section of that cross section to Grinnell. It's not right on it, but it's close. Now the overthrust is awesome. I mean, the people have studied how much of this Mesoproterozoic age stuff has been thrusted over the continent. And as you can see here, it's about 65 kilometers. All right. And that's what we're going to focus on in these. We're going to focus on the Mesoproterozoic and slightly the Mesozoic. The deposits are mappably extensive, and you're going to see that here, but they're really not thick. They're somewhere on the order of 30 to 40 meters thick, which is about 100 to 130 feet. So they're not very extensive. They're not very thick. But here's the geologic map. All right, this is an excerpt from the Published Geologic Map. This here is the Lewis overthrust, the solid black line. That's about the front of it. And the Grinnell is right here. This is the map area. I'm going to show you a geologic map I made. That's a small section of this area. It's totally adapted from their map. In the next couple videos, when I actually do take field measurements, the people that made this map did a really good job. I mean, almost all of my measurements were within their measurements. So it's part of that confirming or falsifying things I've talked about before. Well, I was confirming data they were getting by reaffirming it in the field. And I didn't even realize at the time because I didn't have this map available. But anyway, here's the geologic map that I did. And like I said, it's just a zoom in of, the 1992 map. I hadn't changed much on this. Like I said, I did not have my Brunton with me. I had my camera, but I didn't have my Brunton. I had my GPS, but my Brunton was not available. I did not have the foresight to bring it. I originally thought the Grinnell Trail was nowhere near as long as it was. So the red line is the trail, and well, you see all these map symbols. What do they mean? Well, here's the local geologic units. You're going to see one of these for each of these 3 videos I'm going to do too. Maybe some more later, because I'm debating whether or not how many of these I'm going to do. I'm going to do 3 minimum. This is one of 3 at least. But here's the geologic units and their descriptions. You can read those if you want. But anyway, I think that covers the intro here. So I'm going to show you. Might as well get started before I rant along anymore. Looks like slate, laminated. There's some balls here, possibly tectonic like it is at Nonsuch. But yeah, it's a green and red slate. It's pretty nice. Any features? No. Okay, that's where Glacier once sat, right there. You can tell by the U-shaped valley. And it came down this way. This would have been the main one, leading out that way, or yeah, that's south, yeah. But there would have been little fingers like this one, that one back around over there. And up here is the front. This would have been the very back of the Alpine Glacier. And as you can see, there's still ice there. And the ice would have broke off, come down, would have gouged this out, which makes sense, that little lake's there. And then where that stream and lakes now sit, that's where the glacier once went. And back there, they're kind of dipping towards us. Then here, slate curves almost vertical away from us. So that means there's probably a little syncline in here. Or this is a monocline. But look, it's like overturned. And then, yeah, this has to be a big monocline or limb of an anticline, syncline. What else do we have in here? And you can tell this is metamorphosed. Look, quartzite. So I get quartzite in with it. Hadn't seen that down below. We're slowly moving up section, but Now we're moving down section again because the way the beds are dipping. Now they come back down, start dipping the way they were before, except they're dipping a lot more vertically, so that is a big anticline right behind us. And you can tell here, as we were walking up, they were dipping towards us and dipping away. Definitely. Ooh. Yeah, well-defined laminations in this. Crossbeds. I wonder if this is sandstone. Yeah, it is. It looks a lot like some of the red sands in the UP. It's very fine-grained. It's very ferrous. Very lithic. Very arcosic. This is metamorphosed to some degree. Technically, this would be a proto-quartzite, not a quartzite, because there's very little quartz in it. I walked right past this one and Sarah noticed it. Overturned anticline here. It's a pretty tight fold. Level up there. That would be the nose. And that's a limb. And that's a limb. Be careful. Need help? Well, got a little wet. That water's really cold, but it felt good. So it's got to be around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's still snow and ice. What's the date today? July 24th, Sarah?
Yes.
Cool. So, a lot more actual quartzite in the rock now. And then you've got slate, cross laminations. Under the bed, that's quartzite. And here's a mini scale. So, up at this point, slate is interbedded with quartzite now. It's probably, maybe 20 centimeters thick, the quartzite. But down here in the quartzite, you got these cool little mud balls in it. So my guess is the slate is pretty pure quartz too. There's a purple ferrous. It's ferrous, that's what makes it red. Some nice ripple marks right there. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I saw those.
So these are not overturned. Some right there too. Okay, see your phone for a sec. I just want to get the date and time. Those are some big ripple marks. Oh, they're on the quartzite. Okay, let's see. Some real quick geo here. That's what's left of the glacier. That's where it would have started. Its head come down this cliff. The lake's down there. Can't see it right now. But if you look at the bedrock, you can see it's dipping either towards where the head of the glacier was or here and here where it's kind of a little bit away from it. And we're sitting on quartzite right now. And you can see the red slates, more quartzite there. Look at these brown slates interbedded with thick laminations of pinkish quartzite. And then it looks more like it typically does, and then there's more brown. With the walk on the quartzite there in a second. Love all these quartzite beds. We walk on him. Pronounced ripples. Green slate. And this is clearly not in place, but it's definitely igneous. And probably is part of that sill. It's the only igneous rock I've seen so far. Of course, there were glaciers here. Another chunk of igneous looks exactly the same as that other one. So wherever they came from, it was local. My bet is that sill, either that one or that one. Some of this brown. Let's see, there's little quartzites in this and stuff, and looks like it's just a different color. Quartzites are not seeing as many quartzites as there were in the stuff below. And since you can tell the bedding is kind of this way, that way, it's dipping away from us, we're slowly walking up section, what we call up section, which means the rocks are progressively getting younger. And so that's older, that's younger up on the trail, as long as this strike and dip is consistent. Well, we're getting near the end of the trail. And that is definitely in place limestone dipping away from us. So somewhere, the contact, you can see the red slates and quartzites there. You can see them up here. But if you follow this here, your contact is about right. It's about right. That topographic break, and then it comes right down here. I'll draw it in with arrows if my fingers aren't working. So the contact is probably 30 or 40 meters below us right now. Almost there, Sarah. Yeah, this looks like the limestones. It's brown, dark gray bedding. I still think that's an igneous sill. Looks like by the light colors, top and bottom, that it's an intrusion. I call that baked contact metamorphism. Well, we're here. That's what's left of the glacier. That's what remains of the glacier. That's the head. I mean, obviously this would have filled the whole valley at one point. There's probably a ton of glacial striations on this. I'm not going down there. I can't go up anymore. I have to come back up. But you see this here? So the snow is kind of like in this part right here. If you follow it, there's a ridge of rubble. That's most likely an end moraine. It's not a lateral moraine because it doesn't look like a finger came down this way, but it might be. I'd have to actually look at an aerial photograph to determine that. But that's definitely a moraine of some sort. And the valley right there is cut it off. Didn't see it on this side. So it's probably mostly eroded. There's that end moraine. This there. I think this might be the it over here. I didn't think it was over here. I guess it is. It's missing in the middle.